Welcome, fellow cruisers. I've been on over 20 cruises and talked to dozens of crew members and chefs. And trust me, these are the foods they say you should avoid at all costs. While cruise lines have rigorous food safety protocols, the sheer scale of their operations and the nature of communal dining create unique risks. The following guide is not meant to scare you, but to empower you with the knowledge to make smart choices and ensure a healthy, memorable vacation. Before we get started, I'd really love to hear from you. What's your absolute favorite dish to enjoy on a cruise? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see what everyone loves the most. And if you find tips like these helpful and want to make the most out of your next vacation, feel free to tap that like button and subscribe. It really helps me share more insider secrets with travelers like you. 1. Buffet. Sushi. A delicate delicacy in a dangerous environment. Buffet sushi is a beautiful sight, an artful arrangement of colorful rolls and nigiri. But look closer, and you'll see a potential minefield for your digestive system. The core issue lies in the fundamental nature of raw fish. For sushi to be safe, it requires a meticulous process of handling, storage, and temperature control from the moment it's caught until it's served. It needs to be kept cold, below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius, to prevent the proliferation of harmful bacteria. The open-air environment of a cruise ship buffet, however, is a direct contradiction to these requirements. The sushi sits out for extended periods, often under ambient lights, and is constantly exposed to temperature fluctuations. A chef might place a new tray out, but the tray below could have been sitting there for hours. This creates the perfect danger zone for pathogens like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria, which can multiply rapidly at room temperature. Furthermore, raw fish can contain parasites such as anisakis, which are typically killed by proper freezing protocols. While cruise lines have these protocols in place, a lapse in any step of the long supply chain could lead to contamination. The risk of cross-contamination from other buffet items or from passengers themselves, who may not be using serving utensils correctly, further compounds the problem. Alternative. The solution is simple. Get your sushi fix from a specialty restaurant on board. These venues operate more like a traditional sushi bar on land. The fish is often prepared to order, and the turnover is high. Chefs in these kitchens are typically trained specifically for this cuisine, adhering to stricter, more controlled food safety practices. This is the difference between eating a freshly prepared meal and one that has been sitting out for hours, and it's a risk your stomach doesn't need to take. 2. Rare or undercooked meats. The peril of bulk preparation. Who doesn't love a perfectly cooked steak or a juicy piece of chicken? On a cruise, however, ordering your meat rare or even medium rare comes with a considerable risk. Cruise ship kitchens, or galleys, are a marvel of culinary logistics, tasked with preparing thousands of meals in a single sitting. This high-volume production makes it extremely difficult to ensure every single piece of meat reaches the precise internal temperature necessary to eliminate harmful bacteria. Pathogens like E. coli in beef and Salmonella in chicken reside on the surface of the meat. When a steak is seared, these bacteria are typically destroyed. However, when meat is ground or tenderized, these surface bacteria can be pushed into the center. If a piece of meat is undercooked, especially a large cut prepared in bulk, the center may not reach the required temperature, leaving these pathogens alive and ready to wreak havoc. The cooks in the galley are working at an incredible pace, and a minute's difference can mean the difference between a safe meal and a week spent in your cabin. Alternative. To mitigate this risk, play it safe. Order your meat medium to well done. While a chef might shudder at the thought of a well-done steak, it's a small price to pay for a vacation free of gastrointestinal distress. It ensures the meat is cooked all the way through, eliminating any potential bacterial threats. If you're a true connoisseur of rare meat, Save that experience for a restaurant on land where the focus is on individual portion preparation rather than mass production. 3. Soft-serve ice cream machines. The silent sickness spreader. This is the quintessential cruise ship treat, a seemingly harmless indulgence that is, in fact, one of the most common sources of onboard illness. The soft-serve ice cream machine is a high-traffic, high-touch germ superhighway. The machine itself, from the dispenser nozzle to the handles, is a breeding ground for bacteria and viruses. The first issue is the handles. They are touched by every single person who wants a cone, from children who just came from the pool to adults who haven't washed their hands. This makes them a prime vector for the transmission of common viruses, like Norovirus, which spreads through contact with contaminated surfaces. A single person with the virus can easily contaminate the handle, which is then touched by dozens of others in just a few minutes. The second, and perhaps more insidious risk, is what's happening inside the machine. If not cleaned and sanitized daily, a time-consuming and often overlooked task in a busy galley, a biofilm can build up on the internal parts. This slimy layer of bacteria and other microorganisms can contaminate the soft-serve mix as it passes through. Even if the mix itself is fresh, it can become contaminated by the machine's uncleanliness. Alternative. The best way to enjoy a cold treat without the risk is to go for pre-packaged ice cream cups or popsicles. These are individually sealed, untouched by others, and stored in a freezer, which means they are not exposed to the same risks as the soft-serve machine. It's a simple trade-off that could very well save you from spending your vacation on a porcelain throne. 4. Buffet salads. The unseen dangers of open-air dining. A salad bar seems like a healthy, refreshing choice, but it carries many of the same risks as other buffet items. The primary danger here is exposure. Fresh greens, vegetables, and toppings are left out in the open for hours, vulnerable to a multitude of contaminants. The most obvious risk is droplet contamination, where passengers coughing, sneezing, or even just talking over the food can spray airborne germs onto the ingredients. The long queue of people also means the food is constantly exposed to the ambient air and the germs of everyone walking by. Beyond the airborne risks, there's a high potential for cross-contamination. A spoon used to scoop chicken salad might accidentally touch the pasta salad, or a passenger might use their personal plate to serve themselves, contaminating the serving utensil. The dressings, often kept in large, communal containers, also pose a risk if not properly stored and refrigerated. Alternative. For a safer, healthier salad, consider ordering one in the main dining room or from a specialty restaurant. These salads are prepared in the kitchen, away from the public, and are made fresh to order. You can specify what you want and have the peace of mind that your meal hasn't been exposed to the same open-air risks as the buffet options. 5. Shellfish from buffets. A recipe for disaster. Shellfish like shrimp, mussels, and oysters are some of the most perishable foods on Earth. When not stored properly, they can spoil incredibly quickly, producing toxins that are not destroyed by cooking and can lead to severe food poisoning. In a buffet setting, ensuring these delicate items are kept at a safe temperature is a monumental challenge. The primary requirement for safe shellfish is to be kept on a thick bed of ice to maintain a temperature of below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In a high-traffic buffet, this ice often melts, and the food can be left sitting in lukewarm water. The constant opening and closing of sneeze guards and the warmth from nearby hot food stations further compromise the temperature. This creates an environment ripe for the growth of bacteria like Vibrio, which can cause a serious gastrointestinal illness. Alternative. If you have a craving for shellfish, satisfy it at a specialty dining venue or in the main dining room. These are the places where shellfish is cooked and prepared to order. The items are brought out fresh from controlled kitchen environments, ensuring they haven't been sitting out for hours. 6. Drinks with tap water or ice. The hidden contaminants. You might assume that the water on a cruise ship is impeccably clean, and for the most part, it is. Cruise lines have sophisticated water purification systems that are closely monitored. However, the path from the purification system to your glass is long and complex. The water lines and storage tanks on a ship, though regularly cleaned, can still develop bacterial growth over time. Additionally, the ice machines are a notorious source of contamination. They are often difficult to clean thoroughly, and the internal components can harbor mold and bacteria. While the risk is low, there have been rare instances of outbreaks on cruise ships linked to contaminated water systems, including Legionnaire's disease, which can be transmitted through mist from contaminated water. Alternative. The safest choice is to stick to bottled water or drinks from sealed containers. This completely bypasses the ship's water and ice systems. For coffee and tea, the high temperature of the water used for brewing acts as a natural sanitizer, making them a relatively safe choice. 7. Communal condiment bottles. The hand-to-mouth express. Think about the number of hands that touch a communal ketchup bottle in a single day on a cruise. It's a staggering number. In the context of a ship, where viruses like Norovirus can spread like wildfire, communal condiment bottles are one of the biggest culprits. A single person with unwashed hands can contaminate a bottle, which is then touched by hundreds of others. This is a direct line for germs from the surface of the bottle to your food and, subsequently, to your mouth. The same applies to communal salt and pepper shakers, and even the handles on buffet tongs and spoons. They are all high-touch surfaces that are difficult to keep consistently sanitized in a public setting. Alternative. Whenever possible, use single-serve packets of condiments. These are sealed and untouched by anyone else, making them a much safer and more hygienic option. If packets aren't available, try to get your condiments from the main dining room where they are often delivered to your table in small, fresh containers. 8. Day-old desserts. The reappearance of a sweet mistake. Cruise ships operate on a very tight budget, and one of the ways they control costs is by minimizing food waste. While this is an admirable goal, it can sometimes lead to leftovers from a previous meal reappearing in a different form. Day-old desserts, particularly those with creams, custards, or fresh fruit, are prime candidates for this practice. After sitting out for an entire day, even in a refrigerated state, their bacterial load can increase, and their quality and safety can be compromised. Desserts with dairy and cream are particularly vulnerable to spoilage. While a dry cookie or a piece of bread pudding might be relatively safe, a rich mousse or a cream pie could be a dangerous proposition. Alternative. To ensure you're getting a fresh dessert, it's best to ask a crew member in the main dining room or at the buffet which items were made fresh that day. They will usually be happy to point you in the right direction. Alternatively, stick to desserts that are inherently safer, such as packaged ice cream, fruit, or items that are cooked at a high temperature, like a freshly baked cake. While avoiding these 8 foods is a great start, a broader strategy can make you even safer. When you approach the buffet, wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds before and after every meal. This is the golden rule. Always use the hand sanitizer stations located throughout the ship. It's smart to observe and wait rather than being the first in line for a new tray of food, giving the crowd a chance to pass and reducing your direct exposure. Look for freshness, paying attention to how often food is being replenished. If a tray looks like it's been sitting out for a while, it's best to pass. Lastly, always use serving utensils correctly. Never use your own spoon or plate to serve yourself. Use the provided utensils and make sure to place them back in the correct container. Even with all the precautions, there's a small chance you could still get sick. If you start to feel unwell, here's what to do. Report it immediately. The moment you feel any symptoms of a gastrointestinal illness, like nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea, you must report it to a crew member, the guest services desk, or the ship's medical center. This is not only for your health, but also to prevent the spread of the illness to other passengers. You will likely be asked to isolate yourself in your cabin. While this might sound like a terrible way to spend your vacation, it's a critical step in containing the spread of viruses like Norovirus. While isolated, stay hydrated by drinking plenty of fluids, but stick to bottled water, clear broths, and electrolyte-rich drinks, and avoid alcohol, caffeine, and dairy. Finally, seek medical attention. The ship's doctor is there for a reason. If your symptoms are severe or don't improve, don't hesitate to seek professional medical help. They can provide you with appropriate medication and care. Norovirus is the most common cause of cruise ship outbreaks, and it's not actually food poisoning, but a highly contagious virus, often referred to as the stomach flu. It's not related to the influenza virus. It spreads through contaminated surfaces, person-to-person contact, and, yes, contaminated food and water. The best defense against it is a combination of avoiding high-risk foods and practicing impeccable hand hygiene. So, those are 8 foods you should avoid on a cruise if you want to stay healthy and enjoy your trip. By being mindful of these risks and practicing smart habits, you can ensure your cruise is a fantastic experience from start to finish. Have you ever gotten sick on a cruise? Drop your story in the comments. And if you want more cruise secrets and tips, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video.